So before we begin today, I just want to remind you to get my book. If you haven't got it yet, you are going to love it. It's 32 lessons that create lifelong change in autism intervention. And what you're going to love about this book is I only cover what matters. I don't cover all the extraneous information that really is not a game changer when it comes to autism intervention. What you're going to find in this book, if you notice, it's very thin. This is a very thin book of under 100 pages for you to read. And what's great about this book is it has 32 lessons that matter. So with each lesson, you're going to have 5 tips to put in place in your intervention today. So if you know a child with autism, if you have a child with autism, if you work with children with autism, you are going to love this book. This book is going to leave you with tons of tips that are 100% functional, absolutely no fluff. Every tip in this book is not only research based, so I've got the numbers behind it. It's also field tested. So these are tips that I've used in my practice that are game changers. If you want to create change, hence in big bold print, change, if you're looking to change lives. So in this book, as you can see, that's very thin. You have 32 lessons that really matter when you're working with children with autism. When you open one of these lessons, you only have about 2 pages explaining what is the takeaway that you need to know when it comes to working with children with autism, because it really matters. After that, you're immediately going to have 5 high five tips. Take these tips and try them out in your intervention. Try them out with your child. Try them out with someone that you know that has autism. See if they work. If they don't work, modify them to make them work to that individual child that you're working with. I know you're not a blank slate. You bring a lot to the table. I want you to take these tips. I want you to take these lessons. I want you to take what you bring to the table, your individual experience, your individual skill set, your individual superpowers, and I want you to make these tips better. I want you to make these lessons better. I'm bringing to you what my skill set is, what my superpower is. I'm taking it all and putting it all on the table, the good stuff for you to take and to make better. So if you know someone that has a child with autism, buy them this book. If you know a parent of a child with autism, they will benefit from this book. That's because I wrote it in plain English. You don't have to speak the Queen's English when it comes to what works and what doesn't work. I tell the stories of this is what it looks like in action, and this is why we're doing what we're doing. You need to know your why when it comes to treating children with autism, and don't lose course of that. After that, you're going to have those 5 tips. Do this, 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 and this. These are tips that simply work. So I want you to get this book. It's on Amazon. Buy it now. Give it away. Get it for yourself. Create change. Make the world a better place, one child at a time. This is how you're going to do that. This book is 32 lessons that create lifelong change in autism intervention. It's for parents, it's for therapists, it's for teachers. Anyone who knows or works with a child with autism is going to benefit from this book. Also, I want you to email me, tell me what you think. I'm so proud of this book because I cut out all the fat. And what I did is I said, what is just 100% functional? What do people need to know? Get out the active ingredients. Give that to the people because these are the active ingredients that are going to move the needle. That's all that's put in here. Nothing, no fluff whatsoever. It's a lot more work to write a 100-page book of good content than it is to write a 300-page book of fluff. I've done this on purpose. I edit it down for you. This is what you need to know, period. Take it and make the world a better place. So make sure to get my book today from Amazon. If you haven't bought it yet, you can get Kindle or paperback version and leave a review. I want you to spread the word so that you can change more people's lives. So you're on this mission with me. Let's dive into today's lesson. Today's episode is going to be all about you. We're going to look at your life, and we're going to look at how are you doing in your life today? And we're going to do that by having our own progress report. So you're going to have a progress report looking at the different domains of your life, and you're going to get to grade it from a level A, in which things are exceptional, to a level E, in which things are not doing so well. So we're going to look at 9 different domains, and I base these domains off of the time guru Michael Hyatt's work. If you want to take his assessment, Google Life Force Assessment, Michael Hyatt, like the Hyatt Hotels, Hyatt. And if you Google that, there's going to be a free 10-minute quiz that you can take. You really don't need to take the quiz. You can instead go with me through these 9 domains, grade yourself on a letter grade of A through E, and then you're going to know what areas you're strong in that you don't need to focus so much on and which areas you really do need to focus on. So we're going to look at Michael Hyatt's 9 domains, and we're going to talk about whether or not we're doing well in these domains. So the first domain is the circle of being, and that's how strong are you doing as a person? And that looks at, first of all, your body. So in your body, are you eating well? Are you exercising? So for instance, I know for myself, I would give myself an E at this point because before COVID, I used to teach fitness classes 6 nights a week. And since COVID, I haven't stepped foot in a gym. So even though I eat healthy, I am not exercising. I have not been devoting time to this area. This is something I'm going to give myself an E on. And this summer, I'm going to focus on that. And that's because it's important that you're in a healthy shape so that you're able to perform when it comes to your work, so that you're able to be present and energetic when it comes to your relationships with others. So everything is interrelated. So the first area, looking at your body, and by your body, I mean, how are you eating? How are you caring for your body? Are you exercising? Would you give yourself a rating of an A as exceptional, a B, C, D, or E at this point in time? So think about that. Give it a rating and think, is this something that I want to devote more time to? Because it is interrelated to every other aspect of life. So the second domain that we're going to look at is the mind. Are you growing intellectually? Are you always looking for new learning opportunities to improve your knowledge base? So once again, give yourself a letter A through a letter E and see, is this something that I've been devoting enough time and energy to in fostering growth? The third area is your spirit, and that is, are you clear on your why? I personally think a life without purpose is the definition of depression. Purpose is so important. For myself personally, I'm at church every Sunday, and it's not really about the mass, but it is about taking time to reflect on what is my purpose in this world. Maybe for you, it is meditating, but it's really taking time out to reflect on why are you here and how are you going to spend this little time that you have here in this world. There's no doubt that you are a scientific miracle. Your mother perhaps had 50,000 different eggs, and for some reason, that one egg was fertilized, and here you are today. It's amazing. So the question we need to ask is, how are you going to take advantage of that miracle that was handed to you, but this scientific miracle that life is? Are you living it to its fullest potential? And I always feel like it's important to take a step back and say, why am I doing what I'm doing? I can tell you sometimes in the past when I've gotten so overwhelmed with work demands and outside demands, I'm just trying to keep up. and I'm spending all of my time on the rat race and just playing whack-a-mole and getting the job done. And I don't take that time to reflect on my why. And when I do, that really affects the quality of the work. Instead of innovating practice, instead of taking time and improving practice, and every day being better than the last, you're simply putting out fires all the time and your work begins to stagnate. So having that spirit, and how would you rate that from a letter A to a letter E, giving yourself a letter grade? And are you taking time to reflect? Are you taking time to reflect on what you're doing and how you're spending your time and what is your mission in this world? And what is the purpose behind everything that you do? The next area, Michael Hyatt would call your circle of relating and how you relate to others. So if you have a significant other or a love interest, the question is, are you devoting time and your attention to the relationship? So how would you rate that on a level of A to a level E? Now, I know, for instance, some people like myself are highly independent, and my husband's highly independent as well. And he doesn't want me to have staring contests with him. That's kind of how we roll. We both appreciate our space a lot. That said, are you devoting time and attention and appreciation of your spouse or of your significant other? So how would you rate that? Giving it a letter grade of an A to an E. And once again, we're just taking a moment to step back and assess our lives and assess the legs of the table that you have of life. And we know that if one table is weak, the table can collapse. We really want to have strong legs. I know, for instance, I had a friend recently, and she's a brilliant scientist, and she gets paid big bucks to do consulting work and travel around the country. And she was just in a consulting gig in which they were having her work 80 hours a week, like these really long hours. And she thought, I'm just going to do this for a few months. I'm going to make the big bucks. And then, like a camel, I'm going to come back and take care of myself afterwards. Well, of course, everything went to pots during that time. You can't just put off the other aspects of your life and only work and ignore all other aspects of that table. When you do that, you will undoubtedly crumble. I don't want that to happen to you. Focus and take a step back and say, are all of the legs of my table strong? It's really important if you work with children with special needs, if you have a child with special needs, it's important that you are strong. It's important that your foundation is strong. You need to take care of all of the legs of your table. The next area is family. Are you able to devote quality time with your family? Now, I know I can spend a lot of time with my family, but if I have my laptop on my lap and I'm doing work, that's not really quality time. That's time where I am checked out. Is there time where you're really checked in with your family? Rate yourself a letter A to a letter E grade. And let's just be honest and see where we are today to see if there's any weak legs of the table. Okay, now let's look at community. Do you have a network of friends? So if you're like me and you're an introvert, maybe you only have one or two friends, right? I know for me, I have these three friends, and they've been my friends for over 25 years. And one of them doesn't even live in the same state. However, I have this network of friends that I can trust, that I can rely on, and they can trust me and they can rely on me and they can come to me at any time. So this is really important that you have friends, that you have a circle of friends or a friend that you can rely on, or some community support that you can rely on. That's one of those legs of the table. Now, the next area we're looking at is the circle of doing. So, how are you expending of yourself? Let's talk about money. Is your money budgeted? Are you overspending your money? Do you have a surplus of money so that you're able to support? How would you rate yourself on a rating of A to E? How is your money situation going? Number two, work. Is your work challenging yet rewarding? How are you feeling in your work? Are you overworked? Do you lack boundaries? I know for myself, wherever I go, I always do too much. I'm one of those people that is just like, sure, I'll make everything work. If you You can give me a laundry list of 200 things to do, and I'm gonna make it work somehow. And it's a lack of boundaries. It's a lack of saying, "No, I can't invent time in the day. I already have this much and that much, and there's no room for this." So I know that's gonna happen wherever I go. I'm always going to have a huge laundry list of things to do because I always find a way to do everything. And there's a point where you have to have boundaries and say, no, there's no time for that. No, that's my lunch hour. So, how is your work? Is it challenging yet rewarding? Do you have boundaries? Are you working the weekends? Are you working through lunch hours? Are you working evenings? Think about your work. How would you rate yourself from a letter grade of an A to an E? Are you like me? Are you a high functioning mother hens who somehow just find a way to do everything and say yes to everything? And it's at a cost, of course, because you're putting yourself last. The last one is hobbies. Do you give time to do simply what you love? So the research indicates that every day you should spend 2 to 5 hours where you're doing something just for yourself. It could be watching TV, could be exercising, it could be just resting and doing nothing, knitting, whatever brings you joy, talking on the phone, whatever makes you happy. Now, the research indicates that you go over 5 hours, and that tends to make people feel bad because you're not spending time purposefully. So, under 2 hours tends to not be enough time to recover. So, when we look at hobbies, really look at that as your recovery time. How would you rate yourself on your recovery time from a letter A to a letter E? You have to take the recovery just as seriously as you take the challenge. So I think a lot of this, when we're looking at these 9 domains, and you're looking at these alphabet grades of A through E, I look at it kind of like an Olympic athlete. The work we're doing, if you work with children with special needs, or if you have a child with special needs, it requires a high level of strength, endurance, skill, devotion. It requires a high level of commitment. It requires a lot. Okay. So, as a result, because the demands are so much higher, when you're working with children who really do need a lot more support to thrive, you have to look at your table and make sure it's really strong. So if you are a professional working with children with special needs, if you are a parent of a child of someone with special needs, you really need to make sure these 9 domains are being attended to. And because if one of these domains are weak, it's going to impact the other 8 legs. They're all interrelated. So if you work with children with special needs, if you have a child with special needs, I want you to take time to reflect on all of these aspects of your life and to say, how am I doing in these areas? Where are my blind spots? What could I be doing differently to make these legs stronger? Because I will tell you that it's happened to me, it's happened to friends that I've known where they thought, I am just going to be a camel. And for days, all I'm going to focus on is this one leg, and I'm going to ignore the other legs. And when that leg is done, then I'm going to go and get back to the other 8 legs. And I'm going to tell you invariably what's going to happen if you live outside of the present like that. If you think I can live in the future, which you don't have, what's going to happen is you're going to buckle. It's going to not be pretty. You're going to see failures in many aspects of your life because we only have the present and you need to live in the present at all times. So the present means that you have balance in these 9 areas. If you want to look deeper into this area, go ahead and look up Michael Hyatt on Google and look at his life force assessment, which takes about 10 minutes. And then if you give them your phone number and your email address, I hope they don't call you. I don't know if they're going to do that. I hope not. But what they're going to do is not only give you a write-up of how you're doing in each of these domains, they're also gonna give you some goals that you could work on, like some specific objectives. Like, for instance, how can you spend more time with your family? Okay, I'm gonna make sure that I'm home at this time every day. I'm gonna make sure that I'm eating every night with my family. All of these little steps, and they do that with each of the domains. If you really need some guidance on how can I strengthen these legs of the table. So I want you to take all of this information and don't forget to get my book right now from Amazon, and don't forget to rate and review it, please. That would really mean the world to me because I want to spread the word. I want you to create change on a major scale, not just with the children you work with, not just with the people you know, but with all of the children with autism out there. Please spread the word on this book. Buy the book, give it as a gift, read the book yourselves, and share it by leaving a review. It would mean so much to me. It's 32 lessons that create lifelong change in autism intervention. And make sure to email me and give me feedback. I want to know about how this book works for you, works for your kiddos, works in your back porch. I know that we all have different back porches, but I can tell you that I've used these techniques over the last 20 years. And I'm going to tell you over the last 20 years using these techniques, they work. That's why I've included them in this book. I didn't include anything that is not an absolute game changer when it comes to intervention. Take all this information, roll up your sleeves. You know what to do. Make the world a better place, one child at a time. You're always going to be first.